This is the Select Board meeting of November 24th, 2020. Actually, our first order of business is that the Select Board is going to go into executive session. So can I have a motion to go into executive session to consider the lease or value of real property of the Rodenbush Community Center, as the chair has determined that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the town?
So moved.
Second.
Is there, all those in favor? Scott?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so just a reminder to everyone, we have to close out and then come back in again. So see you shortly.
Welcome to the webinar. Please stand by. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
I have 7:30.
Yep. Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, November 24th. And we will start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Scott.
Pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Our first item, just to remind everybody, is that this meeting is being recorded. That if you have anybody who speaks or who asks questions or enters questions in the question box, that becomes part of the public record. And if you do have a question, if you could type it in the question box so that we can see it, that would be most helpful, is because sometimes when you raise your hand with the little icon, we miss it. So thank you very much. So with that, we'll start with open forum or any announcements. Does anybody from the board have anything from open forum? I don't see any. And does anybody from the audience have anything for open forum? And I don't see anything there. So moving right along, we are at our first item, which is a public hearing for the classification of taxable property. So Paul Plouffe, I know you're out there. So if you would like to, Eric, if you would unmute Paul, and Paul unmutes himself. Paul, if you'd like to run through the hearing and your presentation, that would be terrific. Eric, Paul?
Paul's there. It looks like he's having some issues with his microphone.
Okay.
I don't know if Dan's in the background. Dan, would you like to start while Paul's getting himself situated?
I'm wondering if I can get Paul on the phone so he can give this,
Yeah,
he can go through my phone. I'll give him a call.
As a veteran of the tax classification committee, I could.
you could do it too, right, Tom? Hmm. Well, how about this, folks? Jody, you want to do town manager's report and we can hopefully approve all of these contracts and purchase orders off the top. So,
Sure. Okay, so I have a request to approve the following purchase orders. Liberty Chevrolet for a 2021 Chevy K2500 4x4 dump truck with plow in the amount of $57,812.16 as requested by the Water Department. Liberty Chevrolet for a 2021 Chevy K25 4x4 utility body truck with plow for $54,944.92 as requested by the Water Department. Scott's Tree and Landscaping for clearing sidewalks for 2021 winter snow and ice season in the amount of $28,000 as requested by the Highway Department. Dave Wickles Trucking for removal and disposal of catch basin cleanings and street sweepings in the amount of $15,000 as requested by the Highway Department. New England Fabricating and Welding, Inc. for repairs to highway dump truck number 54 in the amount of $12,000 as requested by the Highway Department. Presidio for smart net support and updates services for Cisco equipment and software in the amount of $17,680.62 as requested by Technology. Patriot Properties for fiscal year 21 appraisals of personal property tax code 504 in the amount of $10,000 as requested by the assessors. And one contract tie and bond for professional engineering services for the Nutting Road Treatment Plant media replacement in the amount of $23,000 as requested by the Water Department. I'm not requesting you approve the Pro EMS solutions, which would provide our paramedics the opportunity to do COVID testing for our first responders, but we're not ready with that contract yet, so not asking for that approval.
okay. Are there any questions about the purchase orders or the contract?
Motion to approve?
Is there a second? All those in favor? Anita,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. How are we doing, Eric?
So Paul's just logging on to a different computer right now. We'll give him 1 minute, if that's okay.
Sure, no problem. So while we're waiting, why don't we go to our, I know that Diana Spalding is online, so why don't we go to our request to approve a common victular license for Diggy's LLC doing business as Diggy's Pizza at 175 Littleton Road, Unit J. Does the board have any questions or comments about this license? All right. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Tom?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. So Deanna and James, welcome to Westford. And we all look forward to your opening and to your offerings of pizza and assorted accompaniments. So thanks and welcome to Westford.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Very exciting.
Great. When are you opening?
So we're meeting with Arnie for the pre-inspection and probably.
We just have to get the fire prevention in to do their walkthrough before we can call Arnie and then get that set up. So hopefully in the next few weeks.
Great. We look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Eric and Paul, are we set? She asks, hopefully.
It says I'm missing a mic. I have no idea why.
So Paul's microphone is not working, so I can go ahead with this if you want and kind of go through it briefly.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So I have Paul on the phone here. Paul, do you want to speak to this or?
Yeah, we'll give this a shot. I have no idea why it doesn't work because I had no problem before. Okay, good evening. Oh, bizarre world here. So this is the FY21 classification hearing. The selectmen tonight will vote to either maintain a single tax rate or to establish a split tax rate. So on to some brief statistics. Again, the FY21 new growth value is over 81 million. That's an increase of over 17 million from FY20. And the reason for this growth was attributed mostly to building permits for new construction, 2 new apartment complexes, home renovations, a review of MLS listings and sales, and continued conversion Abbott Mills. So with that said, the single tax rate for FY21, total value of all real and personal property is over $5 million. And the tax levy is over $85 million. That would give us a single tax rate of 1664 for all classes of property. It's a 31-cent increase from last year's tax rate of 1633. So this year, the FY21 average assessed value of a single family is $565,732. And it's about the same as it was last year. It's just an increase of $38. The average tax bill is at $9,413, which is an increase of $176 from FY20. And then the median single-family home changed slightly from last year. It actually came down to $551,200. So with a associated tax bill of less than $9,200. So just a brief discussion onto the split tax rate. A split tax rate would shift more of the tax burden to commercial, industrial, and personal properties. And that shift can be upwards to 50%. FY21, the commercial, industrial, and personal property class amount constitutes
a little over 12% of the tax base. And last year, that tax base was slightly under 12%. In FY19, the Board of Selectmen voted to adopt a single tax rate. After research was done by the tax classification research committee. So with that, we kind of move on to if there are any questions. All right, if you're saying no questions, we can move on to the options. So single tax rate as stated, it would be 1664.
Andrea, I think you're muted. You're muted, honey.
Okay.
Hey, Paul, hang on for 1 minute, okay? Let me ask before you go on, let me ask if anybody from the board has any questions for you. And then let me see if anybody in our viewing. Okay. Scott?
So thanks, Paul. This is all, good information that we look forward to every year. I guess thinking now we're looking ahead, the impact of COVID on local business seems to be pretty severe. Do we think that going forward, that's going to affect the value of commercial properties versus residential?
I can't speak to that at the moment. All I can say is that with real estate, especially residential real estate, sale prices have been higher than they were a year ago. And it's the biggest impact is with the modest homes. They're they're selling for such a huge amounts of money. I mean, we're seeing small ranches selling in excess of 450,000. And again, so the sale prices from this calendar year 2020 are showing me that next year there may be a further value increase. I'm not sure.
Okay, thanks. I don't have a crystal ball, but I figured I would get your.
Yeah, and we can't speak to personal property. If businesses are gone, then obviously, we lose that, that revenue.
Anita, and then Tom.
Thank you. I just have a question about the CIP class tax base. So back a couple of slides when you're going over the split tax rate, you mentioned, it's 12%, 12.2 for this year. Last year was 11.8. In 2019, when the Board of Selectmen voted to adopt the single tax rate, do you know off the top of your head what the tax base was that year?
Yeah, it was about the same. In over 20 years, it probably varies from 12 to 15%. And it's value driven. So depending on assessments, it drives where that percentage is going to be.
Okay. Thank you.
Tom?
Thanks, Andrea. I was just going to say that I think the reasons that the tax classification committee voted to maintain a single tax rate are just as relevant or more relevant now. It doesn't seem like a good time to shift additional burden onto businesses. And what we learned at that time was because of the mix of residential versus business, you couldn't really make a big difference to the residential taxpayer, which would be the purported goal of making that change, without really heaping on to the businesses. So at least my take is the recommendation would remain the same, or at least I would follow the same recommendation this year in my vote.
Yeah, I certainly would agree that this is not the year to put any more burden on our commercial tax base and our small businesses. Any other questions from the board? And I'm not seeing any questions from the audience. So, Paul, back to you now, okay?
I have no idea why I have no mic, but anyway. So at this point, the Board of Selectmen would be looking to take the vote. So a yes vote would be opting for a single tax rate.
Yep. Okay, so we do this in two parts. First, whether or not, as Paul said, we want a single or a split tax rate. And then once we do that, then we vote on the tax rate itself. So is there a motion? Tom,
I'll make a motion that we adopt a single tax rate.
is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? So seeing none, all in favor? Anita,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, thank you very much. One further thing.
Yep.
Okay,
So-
I'm asking for your permission to do electronic signatures tomorrow morning.
Do we need to, Jody, do we need to vote that, or can we just give,
You haven't in the past.
okay, so can we just,
So it's just.
so we
it
can
just gets
say yes,
moving
okay?
faster.
All right, so yes, Paul, feel free to use my electronic signature.
Okay, so we good?
I think so.
I think you're good, yeah.
Okay.
Okay? All right. I think we're set with that. Well, that was interesting. Okay, and I realized we never actually moved to open the public hearing. So I suppose we should probably do that in retrospect and then move to close the public hearing. So,
Do we also didn't vote to vote the tax rate? We voted a single tax rate, but not the
oh, we
amount.
didn't vote the tax rate, so let's
So,
vote
I
the
bet
what was it, 1634?
1656, right? I thought.
1664.
1664.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
All those in favor? Tom?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
And I make a it was 1664 for the tax rate, you said? So I make
Yeah.
a motion to set the tax rate at 1664.
Second.
$1.64.
okay. All those in favor? Tom?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And now, just to
Close public
the-
hearing?
Yeah, just to close out the public hearing. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Tom?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
No clerk today. That's just what happens, you know.
Yeah, that and. Okay, we have a public hearing to approve a license for a Class 2 used car dealership for 110 Auto Sales at 323 Littleton Road. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So I believe that Brian Hogan is out there. And Eric, can you unmute Brian?
Yep, I just did.
Hello.
Okay. Hi, Brian. So can you just just briefly, not only for both for the board and the public, just tell us where your car dealership is going to be located, and and exactly what you'll be doing.
Sure. It's going to be at 323 Littleton Road. It's a little white building across from, well, right aside the 99 restaurant.
Mhm.
We're looking for, I think it's a 28 car license for used cars. We've taken care of the fire lane that the fire department wanted to have put in, as well as the entrance and exits in the parking lot. So that way we have just one flow of traffic coming in on one entrance and exiting out the other entrance. We are taking care of the handicap parking. That's already all set. The bathroom is being done. I believe my contractor went down yesterday to pull a permit to get that going. And mainly what we're looking to do is just really sell used cars. I own the limo company here in Westford. And obviously when travel went down, we started selling off our cars. And we're selling them pretty quick, believe it or not, at 323 Littleton Road. We just had them up there. We were just selling for corporate coach and limousine, and they were going pretty quick. I was pretty impressed with it, and that's why I'd like to switch it over to the used car lot and get the permit, if possible, at least a license number today, so I can apply to the registry, which is going to take at least 2 to 6 months before they approve me. So I want to kind of get the ball rolling on that, not only to put some of my ex-employees back to work doing something different. It would be very helpful. I don't know what else would be needed.
Okay. So are there any questions from the board? And I don't see any questions from the audience. So is there a motion? Scott?
Unmute, Scott.
You're on mute.
I was just saying that my opinion was that we're changing from a current limousine operation to a used car sale. So we're talking about automatic way. It's not like we're changing the use dramatically from the the town or a butter's perspective. So I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Can we make the motion subject to approval from the required approvals from the building department?
Of course.
Okay. All right. All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. There you go, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Is there a
Thanks,
motion? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
So
Scott? A second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We're at our 8 p.m. item, which is an update on COVID-19 and the impacts on the town operation during this period. So we have a request for a waiver of 2021 all alcohol restaurant license fees from Scott Pelletier, who is the owner of Fuse Bistro. So Scott, if you'd like to present to us and give us your reasoning why. Is he here tonight?
I
don't see
him. He got an invite, but I don't see him online.
I don't see him online either. Well, why don't we do the other couple of items under this and see if Scott joins us, and we can go back to that. So we have a request to consider waiving future lease payments for the Roden Bush Community Center due to the disruption in their programming because of COVID-19. This was the topic of discussion in an executive, in the board's executive session earlier this evening. where we did discuss whether or not we would waive Rodenbush's lease requirements. And after the select board had a discussion about this, we are certainly cognizant of the impact that COVID-19 has had on Rodenbush and on its operations. We're cognizant of the important role that Rodenbush plays here in the community. So we are also cognizant, and we had the opportunity to review Rodenbush's finances and the current finances right now, and the projection, at least for the next months or so. And after discussion, what the board has determined it is prepared to do is, given the fact that nobody knows what the world is going to look like in 4, 5, 6, 8 months from now, given the fact that there are some very optimistic and hopeful options out there, including vaccines, the board isn't prepared to waive completely the rental fees that Rodenbush pays the town for the full year of 2021. However, as I said, we are certainly mindful and cognizant of current situations and the impact it's had on Rodenbush. And so what we have determined that we are willing to do is to look at this sort of on an incremental basis. And for now, what we're willing to do is to basically let the rent accrue for Rodenbush right now and suspend Rodenbush's rent payments, at least up through April 1st, 2021. At the same time, we would ask that Rodenbush suspend its reimbursements from the town for that period. So in essence, no funds and no monies are exchanged between the town and Rodenbush. And that in and around April 1st, I would say probably whatever the first meeting of the select board is in April, that we again revisit this and determine what the situation is both in the world, the community, in Rodenbush, and see where we stand at that point in time, and again look at this and revisit this at that point in time. So that is, I think that's a summary of what the board discussed and decided. Board, did I leave anything out, guys? Okay. So that's where we are. I don't know if anybody has any questions from the audience. Scott, I'm not seeing any from the audience. Oh, yes, Michelle. Michelle just wrote, "Thank you very much." Okay, I assume that's your question, Michelle, but it's rather a comment. Scott?
Did you want us to make a motion and vote in public session?
Yes, yeah, I do. Before we did that, I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure that there were no questions or comments from the public, but seeing that there are no further, so yes, a motion would be helpful. Tom?
I'll try to make the same motion that we did before. And just to be clear to the audience and the people at Rodenbush, we're basically saying that we're going to suspend collection of the rent until April 1st. So we're not waiving the rent. We're just saying that until we understand the situation and things have stabilized, we won't, you don't have to write us any checks until on or about April 1st, and we'll get together then and evaluate the situation. So just a small clarification. So I'll make a motion that the town of Westford suspend collection of rent on the Rodenbush property pending reevaluation on or about April 1st of 2021. And in consideration, the Rodenbush will not bill back any of the shared services in that building, such as utilities or groundskeeping.
Okay. All those in favor? Anita,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. All right. I don't believe that Mr. Pelletier
No, he's not online.
is not on yet. So what is the pleasure of the board? Just to pass on this, table it at this point, or do you want to discuss it without him? Tom?
I think we would table it just because, I mean, it was really raised by him. I think we would want to hear his points and hear his arguments. And so I propose that we basically don't address this until such time that he comes back and can represent it.
I agree. I don't think there's any need for us to address it tonight since he's not here. If he wants to pursue it, he's certainly welcome to resubmit his request, and we will certainly consider it at that time. Okay.
Looks like Jody has a question.
Jody, do you have a question?
So by Massachusetts state law, you have to vote the liquor license renewals in November. And I don't know if Patty's in the background. I want to be sure that we can hold on determining whether or not the fee is paid until December 8th.
Well, she is here. So Patty, can you answer that?
I saw Patty briefly. There she is.
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we typically need the fees before January 1st. So we hold off until then. We send them out a statement. I mean, there's more than just the liquor licenses. Sometimes there's automatic amusements that go with it and all that good stuff. So as long as the fee is paid by January 1st, they're set to operate. That's how we typically do it.
Okay, so if Mr. Pelletier wants to pursue this, he needs to do so before January 1st.
That's right.
Okay. Good enough. Thanks, Patty.
You're welcome.
Okay, so our third item is to review the draft June 12th, 2021 annual town meeting timeline and fiscal year 2022 budget calendar. Jody, do you want to run through that?
Sure. It is in your packet, and I don't know if Eric wants to pull it up or not.
Can Eric pull it up on the screen for us?
Sure.
Okay, so it begins with Thanksgiving, which is this week, and you've determined that town meeting will be on June 12th with a rain day of June 13th. I did confirm that with Jim Antonelli. So we just run through, I mean, this is something we do every year. This is a little different year, so we just run through, get the holidays in there, outline when nomination papers are due, CPC applications, and so on. We've got me presenting the budget to you and the Finance Committee on February 9th. The schools have asked to have till late January to get their numbers to us, so we thought that would give us enough time. Then we've scheduled some draft joint budget hearings with the FinCom. The FinCom has not approved these yet. We have suggested them to them. Planning Board street acceptance applications are due March 12th. Submit nomination papers March 16th. None of the election dates changed really because we're not proposing to change the election. And then the joint budget hearing with the school committee, FinCom, and the select board on March 25th. Non-petition articles due March 31st. More joint hearings. Citizen petition articles due April 6th at 2 p.m. Then reviewing warrant articles. Town election warrant deadline, April 26th. Keep going, Eric. Planning board hearings, the annual election, May 4th. Second planning board hearings, you sign the warrant on May 11th. Keep taking positions on articles. We got a lot of time here. FinCom book to printers, May 21st. Voter registration, May 21st. Eric, there we go. Street layout, May 24th. Memorial Day. Mailing the FinCom book, June 1st. Motions meetings, League of Women Voters. Annual review, I didn't check that date with them yet. And then annual town meeting. So it's all here. Generally, we bring it to you. Make sure you don't see any issues. If there are, we can change it. It can be a working document.
Looks good. It looks like we actually have, I mean, being the town meeting being in June, kind of looks like we have a little extra time built in there, which is always helpful in case, you know, we need the time, particularly for warrant article review. Anita?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I heard correctly that the March 25th meeting date is a joint meeting with Select Board, FinCom, and School Committee. Is that right? Did I mishear that?
No, that's what I said. I mean, again, these dates can all change.
Yeah,
I think
it's fine.
Yeah.
My thing was just, could you just add school committee in there?
Yeah.
So that people know that they're part of that meeting. That was my only thing.
And, you know, they can be part of numerous meetings too, if they choose to, but we will clarify and make sure they're available for that. And they may want to meet earlier depending on what's going on with the budget. So again, this is a draft, but it just gets us thinking about town meeting and trying to lay out the dates.
Okay. Well, looks good.
Okay, so we'll get that on the website, and if things change, we'll update it accordingly. So the next document is really just the budget timeline, which you can pull up, Eric, if you want to. Okay, maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger there if you can. Okay, so this is the final submission of the recap to the Department of Revenue. I'm beginning budget review, like internal town budget requests next week with each department head, and Dan and Eric and I go through, then just listing when the recap's approved, final submissions, the audit completed, then my presentation, which I mentioned. These budget reviews, we haven't run them by the various boards yet, so we will talk to the school committee too and FinCom and see when they would like to meet, what works with their schedules. And then, you know, it kind of also mirrors the other, but this is more of Dan's and my calendar with FinCom and you all. So this is what we're laying out. Okay.
Looks good.
The extra time, I think, is going to make it a lot easier for all of us. So that's it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you to you and Dan and Eric for putting that together.
And Patty.
And Patty. Sorry, and Patty. All right. Okay, we are at old and new business. The first item is the request from the Energy Committee to approve the Westford Power Options Program tax bill stuffer. So we had a copy of that stuffer in our packets of materials tonight. So do we have, I think.
I'm on. I am.
Juliet's here to address any questions that we have. Do we have any questions? I am not seeing any. So is there a motion to approve the stuffer?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Scott,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. You're all set, Juliet.
Thank you very much, all of you. Have a good evening and happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you. Okay, we have a request for an adjustment to the solid waste and recycling collection service located at Unicorn Drive from Patricia Price. And I do see that Patricia is on.
Yes, I'm here.
online. So, Patricia, if you'd like to present your request.
Well, I wrote a letter explaining the situation. I'm at the very end and my driveway is actually quite long too. And I actually measured it like with almost like a fitness walker kind of app. And it was like 2 football fields from the bottom of my driveway upwards to the end of the street. And I'm just not physically capable of dragging, you know, heavy barrels and heavy recycling bins all the way up the street, you know, and all the way back. And there's not just 1 or 2, there's usually several. And in the winter, it's even harder. So I was hoping that perhaps the truck could come down the street so that I won't have, you know, an issue. I have one large son who had been doing it, but he's just unreliable. He's not always here. And that's my situation. And I don't have equipment to drag it up with, like, you know, I don't have any like RV equipment or anything like that. So.
Okay. All right. Comments, questions? So, Tom.
I have a question. So I was also on the subcommittee looking at recycling and trash collection. I'm wondering what the status of that road is. Is that, this may be a question for someone from the highway department or the town engineer, but I know there is a class of roads like the road I live on that are, I'm trying to remember what they're called, shared driveways or something. They're not actually officially sort of town roads, and that's why the collection is down at the end. Do we know what the status of that road is, Eric? I'm sorry, through the chair.
So I reviewed this with Jeff Morrison and the engineering department as well, and we discovered that this is a private road. And we reviewed the Board of Selectmen policy for solid waste and recycling, and that was approved in 2019. And one of the items that mentioned were if we would provide collection services on private roadways, so long as they met certain conditions, those being the minimum pavement width of 18 feet, a maximum grade of 9%, and a circular turnaround, having an outside curb to curb radius of not less than 70 feet. So Unicorn Drive does meet all of those with the exception of the T turnaround instead of a circular turnaround. But that is eligible for services. That's the only difference in this one.
Go ahead, Tom.
And do we have an opinion from, I'm trying to remember what we did, because we did add a couple people last time. I think we did we do some kind of walkthrough with the provider? There was something we did to make sure that it was safe and the contractor felt like they could do it if we're making any kind of exception to policy.
Go ahead, Eric.
So we did review this request with both of our providers. They both requested to not be responsible for any damages that resulted on the private roadway. Just from the turning radius of the truck, they were concerned with potentially damaging the pavement. And also there were concerns because when you come off of Route 40 to turn onto Unicorn Drive, the downhill slope is, when you say 8 to 9%, it's hard to really imagine what that looks like, but it's got some grade to it. And the drivers were concerned that if it was not plowed and salted properly during a snowstorm, they may not be able to make it back up the hill and onto Route 40. And the town does not provide those snow plowing services on Unicorn Drive.
Go ahead, Tom.
So Eric, is the normal course then that there's some agreement between the town then and the residents on the private road that says that they're not required to pick it up if it's not plowed and salted? And is there some sort of I don't know, waiver or something that we ask people there to sign? I don't remember what the process is.
So,
Go ahead.
we didn't require every homeowner on a private roadway to waive their rights of damage. So what we did do is we sought the condominium complexes and we had their representatives waive their rights for damage for the condominiums that we provide services at for curbside. As far as the snow plowing, we don't have any agreements in place that would state that we wouldn't provide services if they don't have it done. There are several streets in town that we provide curbside collection on that we do not plow.
It sounds like you've thought about this, Eric. Is there a proposal you have? It sounds like this does probably fit in the spirit of what we'd agreed on before in 2019, but we need to address those couple of issues you mentioned. Is there a path forward you suggest?
Well, I will say that Unicorn Drive is very unique. The T turnaround at the bottom is the largest I've seen. It's definitely adequate for turning around a trash or recycling truck. I looked at all of the other roadways that we require collections to be brought to the intersecting road, and none of them have a T turnaround the size of this. So in terms of that, if we were to consider the T turnaround sufficient, then I would think it qualifies for curbside collection. The board perhaps could make it contingent upon revisiting it if it becomes an issue with the snow plowing in the future.
So if I can jump in here. It sounds, I agree, Eric, it sounds like that this private road does meet the requirements. I'm wondering, because they do their own plowing, and if it can be understood between the residents and our companies that, if they get there and the road is not plowed, or if they feel that, it isn't plowed sufficient so that they may get stuck and they can't get back up the road, that the driver, that if their trash and their recycling isn't picked up, it's because of weather conditions, and they need to understand that and recognize that if that happens, it's just going to happen, and they aren't going to have any recourse against either the town or our trash or recycling collectors. I think that needs to be understood. I think that the residents need to understand that would be a condition in terms of if we decide that to permit the trash and recyclers to go down Unicorn Drive. So maybe it's drafting a letter to them. I'm not sure, I sort of leave it back in your hands what you think is best, but maybe drafting a letter to them, letting them know that we will direct our trash and recycling to go down Unicorn Drive and pick up your recycling and trash. But you need to know that in winter conditions, if the drivers feel that they're not able to do it safely, that they will not be picking your trash and recycling up, and you won't have a recourse against them or us as a town.
I'm happy to do that.
Any other comments, Tom? Oh, I'm sorry, your hand was off screen.
Okay, I just have a question for Patricia Price, and after hearing the company's feedback or concerns about going down Unicorn Drive, but like any questions or concerns around like damage of property. Is there anything there that concerns you about that? And also, I guess I have a question about whether or not your neighbors would have a concern about that concern from those trucks or those companies. Maybe we can add that to the letter.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I don't believe my neighbors will have any concern about it. And we do have a contractor that plows the shared driveway or private way for us. And he's been exceptionally good. He's there, like, he wakes me up, I hear him outside, you know what I mean? So I think it'll be okay. And we have, UPS trucks and what have you come down the street several times a week. So I think it should be fine. I don't see any problems with it, really. And I think any street that, like, if it was a bad storm and for some reason even like the town plows didn't get to it, I would think that they would skip that one as well, I would think. So, there's always another week.
True. And in a really bad storm, you are right, they don't collect anyway across the town. Tom, just before you, John Cunningham had a question. Is there any additional cost to the town by adding Unicorn Drive? Eric, I think that's you.
No, we have not been advised that there is no additional fee. In fact, we believe it'll be safer for the operators to collect down on Unicorn Drive versus with the toters lined up on Route 40. So they may actually like it more.
Okay, great. So I think we probably need a motion, unless, Tom, was your hand raised to direct me to John's question? Okay. All right, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to empower the assistant town manager to advise collection of waste and recycling on Unicorn Drive, subject to the terms that he outlines in a letter to them, which would include no requirement to pick up during bad conditions.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Scott?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Patricia, you're all set. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy. Thank you so much.
Good night.
All right, good night.
Okay, our next item is a follow-up discussion relative to the need for additional municipal parking and sale of 63 Main Street, including the impact on the value of the property from reducing the parcel size. So Jody, I think this is you.
Yes, so the board asked me to go out there and take a look with a realtor. We did go out there. I went out with the assistant engineer too, and I think what we're recommending is that, I think there's a map, maybe Eric, you could pull up, but what we're recommending is that the selectmen decide to decrease the size of the parcel to the line at the back of the parcel. You can see the line there. Yeah, he's got the little arrow on it. We're not proposing that you vote parking or even decide parking, but we thought if you made the parcel smaller, it would be a 1.57 acre, which seems similar to other parcels in the area. And then you could reserve the space in the back for future parking needs of the town. So I did meet a realtor out there, very experienced, 29 years of experience in this market, and she did not see a value change in splitting off that back 1.36 acres. And then I had the assessor take a look at the parcel too, and I believe he said the impact to the parcel might be value-wise about 9,800, so not significant. We just thought that would give the town the most flexibility in the future, whether you decided to expand some parking, whether you wanted to have a pathway, whether you wanted to have a driveway. We just thought that was prudent. And I did have a picture that I asked Jeremy to take. Eric, if you could throw it up. that shows what we were standing back on where the property line would be, looking at the house. And you can see it was significantly back. There is trees. We were in the trees, but there could be trees, more trees put up, and it would not impact the visual parts of the property. So that was the report that we had, and that would be our recommendation, is to reduce the parcel to that size and just have that flexibility in the future for the town to decide what to do with it.
Okay. Questions or comments? Tom?
Jody, thanks for doing this. That's a great suggestion. That's exactly what I was thinking. So I think that's a great suggestion for keeping the process moving and preserving some flexibility for the town.
Scott?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the sticking point is always how many parking spaces we want, and at some point, really, that's not a critical decision now. Whereas, selling the property is going to, I think, be quicker than that decision. So this is a good plan. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Agreed. All right. Jody, do you need a motion, or what do you need?
Yes, and Eric, maybe if you could throw that map up one more time, if you agree with that, then we would get to work on changing the parcel and get this out with an RFP. So you could reference this map if you like this layout.
Andrew, you just want to make sure you see there's a hand up in the audience.
Ellen Hardy has her hand up. Yes, sorry about that. Ellen?
Eric, do we need to unmute Ellen?
Do we need to unmute Ellen, Eric?
She's good. Here we go.
Thank you, Eric. I want to thank the town manager and the engineer for coming up for what I think perfectly reflects what the town meeting was voting in terms of keeping that house as a saleable old house, and yet preserving a parcel behind it for town's future use. So thank you for what I think is a great compromise, and I support this entirely, and thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, I don't see any other hands or comments, so is there a motion from the board? Scott or Tom, one of you?
Scott, please go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we divide the property as outlined on the map, with the rear portion held for the town's use and the parcel abutting Main Street to be into an RFP for sale. Is that
Second.
right, Jody?
All right, all those in favor? Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. Jody? You don't get to vote.
No, I'm not voting. I just wanted to thank Leslie Thomas, and thank you, Ellen, for your comments also. But I did not pay Leslie for this work, and we went out there and had ticks crawling on us. But I just want to thank her for doing this as a volunteer for the town. So
Thank you, and thank you, Leslie. Okay, our next item is an update on the receipt of notice of intent to remove from Chapter 61B, classification and taxation of recreation land, and sell the property owned by Westford Riding Academy Trust located at 22 Griffin Road. Jody, I think that's you.
really, I just want the board to know we did receive the proper notice of intent, and we have started the process through the Land Use Department of notifying all boards. The Board of Selectmen will be notified shortly too, but so the ball is rolling. As a reminder, the clock isn't really ticking due to COVID, but if for some reason we do decide we want to pursue this property, we have a town meeting coming up, so we need to be taking appropriate action now, so.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a request to renew annual licenses, and I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to say as listed on our agenda and in our packets of November 24th, 2020. So is there a motion to renew these licenses?
So moved.
Is
Second.
there a second? All those in favor? Scott? Oh, Tom,
This is-
Scott, go ahead.
Well, one question. Normally, we all go to town hall and get writer's cramp to sign these things.
We don't have to do that, Scott. We have electronic
Okay, that's-
signatures.
I want to make sure we were agreeing that was going to be our process. Okay. So yes.
Wait a minute, Anita.
Yeah, I just have a question with the earlier agenda item with the gentleman, the owner of Fuse Restaurant, and his request to pause on or waive these alcohol license fees, and how that impacts this. So does that mean this is just going to move forward unless he comes in December to? Okay.
Go ahead, Judy. Yes.
Yes, so he was invited tonight. I don't know what happened to him, but we will add the liquor license request to your December 8th agenda and give him another opportunity. But by state law, you are supposed to renew the liquor licenses in November, at least vote to renew to start the paperwork. So we will add that to 12/8 and he'll have a second opportunity to come in. Okay, thanks.
All right. So, I'm sorry, I lost track. Did we have a motion or not?
There's a motion in a second. You're going for the vote when I ask the question. So.
Okay, thank you. So all those in favor, Scott,
Yes.
Anita,
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then we also have a request to appoint Dan O'Donnell and Michelle Smith to the Westford Scholarship and Grant Committee for terms expiring on June 30th, 2023. Is there a motion to appoint these two folks?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Board reports and updates. Anita, do you want to report on the DEI?
Yeah, so we had a great meeting last week, and we were able to get through elections. It was a little bumpy, but we've got 2 chairs and a chair in training, which is one of the college students. Eric Barber-Mingo is one of the chairs. Mamatha Jagannathan. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Mamatha, or last name. And then Maida Palnati is the chair in training. And then for the secretaries, it's Corinne Badenhoff, Anjali Rajput, and we have Derek Lowe, who is also the other college student. So we are good to go. We're going to be meeting, just having like an officers meeting just to kind of make sure we've got an agenda rolling. We're going to train one of the secretaries at least to help with the meeting packets, because I know we've been bothering Samantha quite a bit with uploading material. So we're really excited to kind of get going on that.
That's great. That's really exciting. It really sounds like you're moving forward, and that's terrific. Very excited to get this group going and to see the work that they're going to be moving forward on. So that's terrific. Thank you. And thank you to all the members there who are, I know, hardworking and have really committed themselves to this. So, and Anita, thank you and Min Kwan for all your hard work in getting this up and running and in the organizational part of it.
Thank you.
All right, we have done the town manager's report. So is there a motion to waive reading of correspondence? Tom?
I will do that, but first, Paul Fassbender has a question out there.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I missed that. I have a request, Paul Fassbender. I have a request for the future 22 Griffin Road discussions. Okay, Paul, Eric, can you unmute Paul so we can hear what his request is?
Hi. First of all, I'll say this system for getting your attention doesn't work quite as well as walking up to a microphone in a real meeting.
It doesn't, you're right, Paul, but we're doing the best we can.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. One thing I'd like to remind people of on 22 Griffin Road is for the last 10 years or so, That's been one of the quote go-to cell tower site locations in the south end of town. Some of you may remember we had a lot of public hearings. It was quite a challenge for our consultant to find any site in the south end of town where he could reasonably hide a cell tower. 22 Griffin Road was one of 3 sites that were finally approved, and that was actually given to T-Mobile as a permitted location. Luckily for us, they had financial trouble and a bunch of other things at the time, so they didn't build it. But David Maxson from Isotrope's study of the coverage in the south of town said it's just a matter of time before someone needs to build towers in that area. So if this site comes off the list of places that are good for putting a cell tower, we really should give some thought to finding another location. And I'd like to just see that as part of the discussion before we conclude what we want to do with this site. And obviously, you don't want to talk about it for an hour tonight, so I can leave it at that for now.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for reminding us of that. I remember those hearings well, so thanks, Paul. Okay. Tom,
I move to waive correspondence.
there a second? All those in favor, just raise your hands. Okay. Before we adjourn, I just want to take this opportunity to wish everybody in Westford a safe, a healthy, and a peaceful Thanksgiving. I'm sure for many of us, it's not the Thanksgiving that we are accustomed to, but it is the Thanksgiving that we'll all be having in 2020. So to all of Westford, as I said, on behalf of the board, we wish you, safe, healthy, peaceful, and relaxing Thanksgiving with whomever you are with this year. And we all look forward to next year when we hope that things will be much better and we will be all on the road to recovery and we will all be vaccinated. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? Good night, Westford. Oh, we have to vote. All those in favor? It's been one of those nights. What can I say? Good night, Westford. Everybody take care and be safe.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.